Good afternoon. I'm Lisa Eichelberger, the Dean of the College of Health at Clayton State University in Atlanta, Georgia. And I have the distinct honor and privilege this afternoon to be with Sister Callista Roy. We're delighted to have her with us at our research symposium this afternoon, and she has so graciously agreed to spend a few minutes with me this afternoon, allowing me to ask her maybe some of the questions that you may have always wanted to ask her. And so over the next few minutes, I'm going to take some time and ask her a few questions, and I hope that she'll answer us and give us a little insight into what it's been like to be Sister Callista Roy. So thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure to be here. I've really enjoyed being on your campus here.
Well, thank you so much. As a lover of nursing theory myself, it's really a great honor for me to be with you. You know, you're internationally known, and as a teacher of nursing theory, and I've had the opportunity to spend a lot of time with nurses and learning about nursing theory, and I'll have to tell you that when I've worked with students, many of them are drawn to your adaptation theory themselves. And I would like for you to tell us just a little bit about maybe your childhood and maybe a favorite childhood memory that you have.
Oh, that's a great question. I was very blessed. I had two incredible parents who had family very young, but also ended up having a large family. So I am the second oldest of 14.
14?
And 7 girls and 7 boys. We grew up in the middle of Los Angeles, and probably it gave me a whole background in how wonderful it was to share. I've always felt so blessed. And people would ask, was I put upon by having to help with the Not at all. I was proud of myself. For some reason, we had whooping cough, and in my younger brothers, 2 of them had it at the same time, and my mother had to go to work. She was a nurse, an LVN, licensed vocational nurse, and I was taking care of the family. The babysitter was there till I got home from school and then left. So who could go to school in the 4th grade and brag that they had saved their 2 brothers' lives the night before? I turned each one over, got all the gunk out of their throat, and so to me it was, my parents were incredible in that they knew how to give. And like all the sisters, we know that we were each one our father's favorite, you see. Then after he died, my sister said, you know, it really was you. So, but it's not any one thing that stands out. The major thing for me was the idea of sharing, and there was a great deal of faith in God, because there's no way you could raise a family like that without just really believing somehow that Providence would provide. And but we had a happy childhood. I was also very blessed in a very, very good education from very young.
Thank you. Well, with the family of 14 children, you certainly saw a lot of adaptation, didn't you?
Oh, that's for sure. And also, yes, that was it. So changing situations were constant, and then figuring out new ways to do things. And my mother was very bright and also very resourceful. I mean, she could make things work. And with her example, and my dad was very supportive, but he was supportive of us in a very quiet way. And so together it worked extremely well. And but yes, I had seen an awful lot of life examples by the time, you know, I finished grade school, let alone high school. I really had a lot of life experience.
By the time you got to nursing school,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to a new nursing theorist?
Well, I think the same advice I'd give to any nurse, which is to always think about that what we do is the purpose of anything that we do in nursing is to try to, the goal is to help people to be able to lead healthy and happy lives, so that whatever area it is we're thinking about, that you think about what are then the major concepts, how would you conceptualize what's going on here, and then how would you put those together as interrelated, and that's how you would build the theory. But it's based on the fact that it's people, interacting, and people trying to deal with their life situations.
Thank you. You've had such an illustrious career. What are you the most proud of?
Well, I think one thing I have often said is that the best accomplishment is yet to come, and it's going to be by one of my students. So that's what's exciting to me, just planting ideas whereby other people, pick up both the commitment and maybe some of the ideas that are going to further lead to the future. So yes, I'm pleased that the work has way beyond any expectation. I didn't have any expectation, but way beyond possibilities, has grown and spread and been helpful to more people than I could ever imagine. However, I think as we move along in this century, and particularly in our country, there are so many challenges and needs for nursing, at the highest level, and the best thinking that nursing can give, that I think even greater contributions will be made. And if some of it stems from some of my work and some of what I may have given to the many students that I've been in touch with, that I think will be the most rewarding.
Is your part of theory development and refinement finished?
Oh no. That's what's really exciting, because the world is changing. Therefore, you change you develop what you're doing. Actually, I was surprised that the basics have stayed the same, because even, at one point I was considering, well, maybe the stimuli have outlived their usefulness. And then we reviewed the first study was, I think, of 250 research studies based on the Roy model, and that was one of the areas that was most rich in terms of the research, looking at the person's environment in these categories. So I figured, nope, okay, that one. So I think the work continues as healthcare changes, the world changes, information technology, etc. So we did the review of the last 15 years of it was 200 studies in 15 years, and then took from those categories, built middle range theories, but then went to practice and then figuring out how to do a patient teaching app about promoting coping strategies in people. So no, we will keep working, and I have wonderful colleagues, particularly through the Roy Adaptation Association, which now has chapters, 6 international chapters, and a wonderful board, totally committed, that continue to work on all of this with me.
So what exactly are you doing? You're working with the board, you said.
Yes.
What
yes.
other endeavors are you working on right now?
Well, we will, one of the goals of the board is to have many more resources for people to use and have them on a user-friendly online sort of way. So it's all the work that's been done. I have undergraduate students reviewing now, picking up from where we left off with the last research review in English, and then we have people doing them in other languages as well, but then also adding the practice and education literature, but then figuring out creative ways to get that into formats whereby we can, as I say, have better resources available for people. I get a lot of email, and even in the last few weeks, I'm answering Indonesia, Cuba, India, Los Angeles, literally worldwide. And I was talking with nurses in Ireland by Skype Monday of this week. And but if we could have more things more readily available, because I think the knowledge that has developed is useful and has been useful to people. So we want to make it more useful by having better strategies for helping people access it. And then also working with other countries so that they can develop their own networks of within their own languages and cultures. So I think the cultural adaptations and the global work right now is very strong. And so that's the theme of the Roy Association Conference this year. And
is the international outreach?
Yes, the global perspective. And in my own work, I'm continuing working with the idea of coping, particularly with chronic conditions. So all the studies that relate to that, and we have data that we're still analyzing and publishing on some of that. And then the coping and adaptation scale that I developed is in about 6 languages now. But this year we had a really important project of an expert in item response theory joined our faculty, so I was able to, something that started as a 72-item instrument way back, to create a 47-item instrument that is widely used. Now it will be a 15-item instrument, but using very strong statistical theoretical theory and then matching it back to the original middle range theory, and it's still as strong. So we're really excited about that. And you can imagine we were in the middle of the back translation of the Korean version when I did correct their back translation, and then I also really worked to get the user's manual for the new one ready so I could send it to them, and they were so excited because now I can measure the same thing with 15 items. So
That's very exciting.
Plus, it then can possibly be a clinical tool as well, you know. So how people learn to cope and adapt, I think, is a huge strategy that needs to be used throughout all of nursing, you know, all the time, whether it's the emergency room or death and dying. You know, it's just a process that it's how people get along in the world. So
yes, that's very exciting. Well, you've kind of already answered my next question, but was there anything that you would change about the theory?
Yeah, I think, as I said, I have been surprised about the lastingness of it, and you were talking about students being drawn to choose it, and I think the key to that is because it came from practice. How did I get the 4 adaptive modes? I had 500 samples of patient behavior, which what we would call it now is concept, you know, it was a conceptual analysis. I sorted them, you know, and figured out the categories, but it was from patient behavior. So that's where, and
it emerged from practice.
Yes, so it was the samples were collected by our student nurses. So these were these little cards, and they were in every clinical area. And when I got them sorted, they were multicolored. In other words, self-concept happened in psych, med-surg, community, everything, you know, or physiologic also, everything. So therefore, I think particularly early days of the nursing diagnosis movement, also people identified with it, and because it came from practice. And then it was easier to put it back in practice. But a useful way of trying to gather together everything that's going on with this person or family or community. So I think the group applications have been really important lately too. So back to your question though, I have not found anything that needed to be dropped or changed, but things that need to be developed. So it was a period of time where I developed the philosophical assumptions and then the cultural assumptions, because people were trying to apply it directly. No, it has to go through a cultural, thinking through. And so I thought the best way to do that, I had colleagues who worked with several groups in Mexico, and they were on the board, and they came up to meet with me, and they were talking about this problem. It doesn't always apply just exactly right. And I said, wait a minute, then what you're talking about is cultural. So from that whole day's discussion came, I said the only way to do this is to write them up and put them in the textbook. So the fact is, then people, if I would tell people to adapt it to their culture, that's one thing, but to say, you know, this is what I mean by that. These are the cultural assumptions. And it's sort of, quote, officially sanctioned, you know, it's part of the model now. So I think those were important developments that in some cases should have been done sooner, but you can't do everything at once, so you just keep working on it. So there have been different times where different things were the focus, and yet I am pretty much surprised that the original outline of the elements of the model have continued to be rich in developing. And as I say, the group analysis and that I began putting in the textbook before the last one, developed it further in the next one, and am finding even more useful now as we get into all the issues of healthcare change.
If you had your nursing theory journey to do over, what would you do differently? If you could start back at the beginning when,
well, you know,
Ms. Johnson asked you to
yeah, you know,
come up with that.
I am amazed that and very blessed that I started so early, you know, and the fact was I was in my early 20s.
Yeah, because I was going to say, how old
early
were you?
20s. I
Dorothy
was
Johnson
yes,
asked
I was 1 year out of my undergrad.
Wow.
So yes, and so I was very young, and it was just, you know, before we get into advanced pediatrics, which I was just crazy about and really anxious to learn, she said we have to clearly describe the goal of nursing because that will set our direction for knowledge development. And that was, we were still moving quickly into higher education, so it was very important that we do that. And she had been writing about it, and but I had read one paragraph in a book, but I said, that's what nursing is all about. So just bold as anything, I said, oh, it's promoting patient adaptation. And I can still hear her voice, what do you mean by that? So I have spent then my entire career saying, what do I mean by that? And I think I can't think of anything I would actually change and do differently because I have responded to the needs as they appear. So it's not like I set out I will do this first and this and this. Like people say, you know, can we take your curriculum vitae to teach career development? That's not how it happens. I mean, it's well, as the group who came to me about the cultural problems, you know, so a new need appears and you deal with that and you follow it. So it's not like there was any, I can't think of anything that were false turns. I've had papers turned down. And I love to tell those stories because I think it's very useful for people. But it was not a loss. You know, if that paper was turned down for that journal, I redid it and maybe send it somewhere else. But the best review I ever got was, the one I like to tell, is the paper was turned down and the reviewer said, if this person is a student, he or she really should be encouraged. They know Roy rather well.
I'm sure you were glad to hear that.
Yes, exactly. Well, I love to tell the story because it's encouraging to people. You get things turned down. We all get things turned down.
Yes.
But would I want everything to be accepted the first time? No.
You wouldn't learn anything from that.
No. I think I have been amazed that of the growth and how many times just a small decision then took us, you know, a way that I think was very, very useful. But it's by being alert to the needs and following those, not trying to figure out what'll bring more. You know, I don't need any, you know, like they used to say, dress for success. I don't need any, please. I have more than I can handle, you know. It was one of my brother's girlfriends wanted to take me to dress me for success. No, I don't think so.
Not all the success you need, right?
Yeah, I have all that I need. Yeah.
Finish this sentence for me. I'm running out of time to...
I think I'm running out of time to prepare the next generation.
Oh, how great. Yeah. You feel that, huh?
Yes, I think it's just really important. That's why I can't possibly accept as many commitments as I'm asked to do, but it's still important to me to be a full-time faculty member and teacher. It's still important to me to accept a certain number of things, and in areas maybe where I haven't had an impact before. So I think it's not that I'm not worried about it, because I'm not anxious about it. It's just I will do what I can as long as I can, and I'm grateful and happy that my journey has been that blessed. But I will still make those things my priorities, because whatever time I have, I want to use to prepare the next generation.
Well, I'm really glad that you came and spent some time with us today. We really enjoyed having you.
I met some wonderful people. Yeah.
It's exciting when we work with those young, bright faces, isn't it? My very last question is for you. What question should I ask you?
Well, I think you covered the bases very well. I don't have any.
You can't think of anything else?
No, I wouldn't. There's nothing I would. No, I don't have anything in particular to add to that. I think I feel I've said what I would want to say today. And the one thing that I always tell people, though, and I have no trouble with this team here, I'm sure, to date the interview, because I want the date on it. Today is May 1st.
May Day.
20,
that's right.
15.
2015.
But I want to continue to grow, and I totally believe everything I said, but I may change my ideas,
right.
some other time. So that I want to continue to grow. Yeah.
That's right. Well, thank you so much, Sister Roy, for spending a few minutes with us.
Yeah.
I know that the viewers will really enjoy getting a little bit of insight into what Sister Roy thinks about these things. God bless you.
Yeah, thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it.
My pleasure to be here. Thank you.
You.